Hi, it's your $2 Tuesday movie critic here with another movie that's been Oscar nominated for 2018. The movie today that I am reviewing is The Post. This stars Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep. And the movie was great. I really enjoyed it. Now, I did see several documentaries before, or not several, but a couple at least, about, the American people not being told what was going on with the Vietnam War until, you know, it was so far into it that there was no turning back. And they were being told, oh, everything is fine. Oh, our boys are over there taking care of business and this and that. And that is exactly the opposite of what was happening. So, the way the newspapers got involved was that there was a man by the name of McNamara that did a study to see what was actually, and when I say study, he pretty much did an investigation to see what was actually going on, what the government was telling us, and seeing if it was the same thing. And he found that it was just the opposite. And he wrote all of these papers documenting what he had seen over years. And the papers were pretty much uh, hidden because even though he wrote these papers, he was afraid. He didn't know who to give them to, who to publish them with, and it was pretty much illegal because he could be arrested, probably, killed, imprisoned at the very least for treason. And so he did nothing. And cut to about 30 years later, when the New York Times writes this paper, and they only give out a tidbit information about the Vietnam War based on the papers from McNamara. And of course, everyone is surprised, including the government, because they didn't know anyone had these papers. They didn't even know the papers existed. There were always been these rumors and everything, but it was just that. Now, also cut to the other storyline that's going on, where the woman in charge of the paper, played by Meryl Streep, is placed in charge because her husband has just recently died. And prior to her husband being in charge of the paper, her father was in charge of the paper. He in turn gave it to her husband when he died, prior to him dying rather. So now she's in power, and she's put into this major position where she has to decide, does she go with the New York Times and supporting them because she's in charge of the Washington Post, or does she keep the cover up going on or not say anything about it? Because the Washington Post has a chance to get the papers, because pretty much the New York Times, because they have printed a portion of the story, has been pretty stopped by the government from doing any further investigations. It is an excellent story, and it's a lot of suspense going on, not a lot of mystery, because you pretty much know who all the players are by maybe 30 minutes into the movie, but you don't know how this is going to play out exactly, because I mean, it is a part of history and it is based on a true story, but this happened so long ago, everybody's not exactly sure. And not everybody knows this story, especially the part where the newspapers played a part in it, a huge part, because prior to the newspapers bringing out this story, America still thought that the trusted in the government and what they said. And not everybody was privy to this information. It it's an excellent movie. I thought Tom Hanks did an excellent job, as well as Meryl Streep. I like the fact that her character, who was, as I said, the in charge of the Washington Post at the time, I like that she played her character so that even at all times she remained feminine. It seemed like that was very important to her, that she remained feminine, resolved, reserved at all times. But at some point, she had to stop biting her tongue. There was this thing that she did, uh, hmm, something like that, to the point where she was verbally biting her tongue, keeping the words inside that she wanted to say. And you could tell there was something else she wanted to say. And it was so cute because she did it quite a few times during the movie. And you could, and that was a sign. Hey, something else here. And then at some point, she has to make the choice on whether or not she's going to continue to bite her tongue, or is she going to start taking risks, because she's in charge of this paper. And she has Tom Hanks, the editor of the paper, that is pretty much telling her, you have to do this. And then she has the other side where her lawyers, her advisors are telling her, no, you don't have to do this, and you shouldn't do this. And basically what this is exposing the government. It's a really great story. I really enjoyed it. I would recommend seeing it, people seeing it. It was rated PG-13. There was a bit of coarse language in it, and it was in context. But I see where that would probably give it its PG-13 rating. It was an excellent movie, well done. I still think it is not as great as The Darkest Hour. That is still, to me, the top movie in the list so far, from what I've seen. But definitely The Post ranks a very close second, no doubt about it. So, the movies that I chose to, my old school movies that I chose to compare it to, were two oldies but goodie. One of them is a John Travolta movie called The Civil Action. It came out back in 1998. Now, John Travolta is actually a lawyer, and his firm is representing these people that feel that they have been all getting sick, and they're not knowing why, and they're thinking that something is going, they don't know what's going on. John Travolta at the time doesn't know what is going on. His firm doesn't know. They just know that they're trying to help these people, and then they find out that it's not just one family, it's several families, and it's not just several families, it's an entire community. And they're not just getting sick from anything, they're getting sick from the environment. And it is a huge cover up because, it is a major corporation that is keeping this cover up, and it's up to the firm to try to fight against them. Now, the company that they're fighting against is led by their lawyer, who is the lead lawyer is Robert Duvall, and his character is played by Robert Duvall, which does an excellent job, superb. I think he was my favorite character in this movie, of all of them. But it is the small law firm that is fighting against this major company and all these lawyers, and they're trying to find justice for these families. And they go, so many, and as they're doing it, they're finding cover up after cover up, and people doing the wrong thing for the wrong reasons. And it's basically just like in The Post, where they're trying to keep the American people in the dark about what really is going on. The only difference is, in this instance, the community, for in the movie, John Travolta's movie, the people, Civil Action, the people are being harmed physically. In The Post, people are being harmed as well. The soldiers that are fighting this war in Vietnam, and the people back in the States are held to this cover up, and they're not realizing what their sons are being sent out to fight. They believe that, oh, it's just a regular war, they'll be back soon. It is not that big of a deal. It's not like World War II or anything like that. But it's in most instances, it's almost worse. Okay, so that the cover up theme was the thing, even though there's no paper or anything, but there is a point where John Travolta and his firm have a decision to make on whether or not they're going to continue in this cover up so that they can keep their jobs, or if they're going to expose them, and if they decide to do so, how are they going to do it while helping these people? Kind of like what the Post is going through when they're trying to decide, when the main character, Meryl Streep's character, is just trying to decide what she's going to do in terms of exposing this cover up. So that was my one there. Now my other oldie but goodie is Charlie Wilson's War. Now this came out in 2007, 10 years ago. Can you believe it? And this starred Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts. This was an excellent movie again. I honestly think with this one, just like with The Post, John Travolta kind of like stole the show and did an excellent job. Of course, Tom Hanks plays the title character, Charlie Wilson, and what's happening is he's finding out about the war where the Afghans have decided they want to fight the Soviets to win, their freedoms, but they don't have weapons. And so Charlie Wilson actually creates a cover up himself to try to get the weapons to the Afghans. And at the same time, try to elicit help from others, one of which being Julia Roberts' character, who is one of the richest women in Texas. It is an excellent drama again. It's also quite comical, so it kind of like borders on a dramatic comedy. It's done very well. I love Tom Hanks in this movie. You get to see him in almost a different light. The reason I chose Charlie Wilson's War is, again, the cover-up theme, but also the theme where Charlie Wilson has the choice to help these people, the Afghans, in this war to fight against the Soviets, or he has a choice just to do nothing. Because not a lot of people know about this. The American people don't know about this. And they certainly don't know when he decides that he's going to help them get the weapons. Nobody finds out about that until years later. And of course, that's the creation of the Gulf War. These were all very excellent movies. I will definitely watch The Post again because I really enjoyed it. I like seeing Meryl Streep in this way. Very feminine, very meek, but at the same time very strong. And Tom Hanks, always a joy. I like seeing him in this manner too, where he plays a bit of, not necessarily a bad guy, but definitely the guy that brings a lot of drama that there necessarily would not be. So it's a change of characters for him. I'll say that. Well, I hope you enjoy my review, and let me know what you think at the bottom of the screen, and I will see you next time.